Somewhere in the vast expanse of space, nestled between two warring galactic empires, existed the neutral entertainment powerhouse known as Visiomax Galactic Media. Their flagship program, Deathworld Gladiators, had been the top-rated show across 17 star systems for the past 3 decades. The premise was simple: find the most dangerous planets in the universe, abduct their most fearsome predators, and make them fight each other for the entertainment of billions. The executive producer, Nextral, a gelatinous six-eyed being with tentacles that constantly tapped across holographic displays, was not happy. Our ratings dropped 8% last cycle, Nextral gurgled to the boardroom of assorted alien lifeforms. 8%. The Zolaxian brain parasites are gaining on us in the primetime slot. His assistant, a thin gray-skinned humanoid named Vex, nervously adjusted her translator. Sir, perhaps we need something fresh. The audiences have seen Krongan venom beasts fight Meraxian spine tigers 14 times now. What we need, boomed Director Quark, a massive rock-like creature whose volcanic breathing apparatus hissed with each word, is comedy. The audiences love unexpected humor. Remember when that Flugian sea beast accidentally swallowed its own poison gland? Ratings gold. Nextral's tentacles whirled in thought. So you suggest we purposely bring in a laughably weak creature, something so pathetically outmatched that viewers can't help but tune in for the slaughter? Precisely, Quark rumbled. And I know just the place, that blue-green planet in the Sol system. The locals call it Earth. It's technically classified as a death world due to its wide range of environments, but the dominant species are just soft bipeds with no natural defenses. Vex pulled up a holographic display. Humans. No claws, no venom, no armor, terrible night vision, average strength at best. They'll be hilariously outmatched. Perfect. Nextral's skin rippled with anticipation. Send the acquisition team immediately. Get us the most average specimen you can find. Nothing special, we want this to be funny, not impressive. Unfortunately for Visiomax Galactic Media, the acquisition team's targeting system malfunctioned slightly during planetary approach. Instead of capturing a prime physical specimen from one of Earth's military training facilities as planned, their tractor beam locked onto the first human biosignature it detected. And that's how Dave Miller, assistant manager at SuperValue Electronics, occasional jogger, and champion of the store's annual hot dog eating contest, found himself abducted by aliens while taking out the trash behind his apartment building. Dave's last thought before the blue beam enveloped him was, I knew I shouldn't have eaten that expired microwave burrito. Little did anyone know that this unremarkable human was about to change the face of galactic entertainment forever. Dave awoke with the mother of all hangovers, which was odd considering his last memory involved taking out garbage, not tequila shots. Ox's vision cleared. He realized he wasn't sprawled across his lumpy futon but rather in some kind of transparent holding cell. Surrounding him were dozens of similar cells, each containing creatures straight out of a nightmare documentary marathon. Either I'm hallucinating, or I've been kidnapped by the galaxy's weirdest zoo, Dave muttered, pressing his palm against the transparent barrier. A 3-armed blue-skinned alien in a sleek uniform approached, scanning Dave with a device that looked like a TV remote crossed with a cheese grater. Specimen 4723 is conscious, the alien spoke into a wrist device. Beginning assessment. Dave blinked. Hey Blue Man Group, want to tell me what's going on here? The alien ignored him, continuing to scan. Subject displays typical human characteristics: minimal muscle density, fragile bone structure, no natural armaments. Threat assessment, negligible. Excuse me, Dave said, mildly offended. I'll have you know I once opened a pickle jar that nobody else at the office could crack. A second alien approached, this one resembling a praying mantis with a clipboard. Is this really the best they could find? It's even less impressive than the pictures. The acquisition team claims there was a targeting malfunction, Blue replied with a dismissive wave. But honestly, does it matter? Any human would be equally pathetic in the arena. The mantis alien clicked its mandibles. Director Quark specifically requested a human for comic relief. We need this one processed quickly. It's scheduled for the undercard of tomorrow's matches. Dave pressed his face against the barrier. I can hear you, you know. What matches? What arena? Is this some kind of alien fight club? Because I should warn you, my combat experience is limited to button mashing in Street Fighter. The blue alien finally acknowledged Dave directly. Human, you have been selected to participate in the galaxy's premier combat entertainment program, Deathworld Gladiators. You will represent your species in glorious battle. Dave stared. I'm sorry, I think my translator is broken. Did you say combat? As in fighting, as in things trying to kill me? That is the general concept, yes, the mantis alien replied, making notes on its clipboard. Though in your case, the combat will be brief. We've scheduled you for a 7-minute segment. Most of that time is allocated for audience laughter. Dave ran his hands through his hair. Okay, there's been a massive misunderstanding. I'm not a fighter. The last battle I had was with a stapler that kept jamming. Can I speak to whoever's in charge? Like, is there a manager I can complain to? The blue alien pressed a button, causing the cell wall to retract. 2 hulking rhinoceros-like guards approached. Processing time, Blue announced cheerfully. Physical evaluation, weapon familiarization, and then nutrient consumption. Your first match is against a juvenile Carcerian blade scorpion. As the guards escorted Dave down a long corridor, they passed cells containing creatures of increasingly terrifying design. One resembled a tiger with tentacles instead of a face. Another appeared to be made entirely of crystalline spikes that shifted and rotated constantly. So what exactly is a blade scorpion? Dave asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Don't worry, the mantis alien clicked, following behind. They're not fully matured until they reach 8 meters in length. Yours is only about 4 meters, and only 5 of its 7 venom sacs are fully developed. Dave felt the blood drain from his face. That's reassuring. They arrived at a massive circular room, filled with alien spectators behind protective barriers. In the center, various alien gladiators were demonstrating combat techniques with an assortment of weapons. A towering 4-armed reptilian creature noticed Dave and let out a bellowing laugh that echoed through the chamber. Is this the human? This we're supposed to compete against this? Other aliens joined in the laughter. One creature that appeared to be made entirely of bubbling magma waved what looked like currency. 500 credits says it doesn't survive the first minute. 800 says it wets itself before entering the arena, called another. Dave straightened his shoulders and surprised himself by calling back. 1,000 says I last longer than lizard face over there. He looks like he'd trip over his own tail. The room went silent. The reptilian creature's eyes narrowed dangerously. The blue alien quickly stepped between them. Save it for the arena, champions. The human needs processing. As Dave was led toward a medical scanning station, he caught a glimpse of himself in a reflective surface. Still in his super value electronics polo shirt and khaki pants, he looked ridiculously out of place among the battle-hardened alien warriors. Well, Dave, he whispered to himself, this certainly beats handling customer returns. Dave's assigned handler was a weathered gray-skinned alien named Krill, who had the perpetually unimpressed expression of someone who'd seen too many contestants become arena fertilizer. Listen up, human, Krill said, tossing Dave what appeared to be a skin-tight bodysuit. Put this on. It won't stop any serious attacks, but it might keep your soft parts inside your body for an extra 30 seconds. Dave examined the metallic fabric. No helmet. What about protective cups? Those seem like standard issue for, not dying immediately. Krill's facial tentacles twitched in what might have been amusement. The audience doesn't tune in to watch safe combat fleshbag. They want spectacle. Besides, helmets obscure facial expressions, and your terror is half the entertainment. Charming business model, Dave muttered, stepping behind a partition to change. The suit fit surprisingly well, hugging his decidedly non-athletic frame like a second skin. So do I get some kind of weapon, or am I supposed to defeat monsters with my sparkling personality? Krill led Dave to a massive wall displaying an arsenal that would make any military complex jealous. Weapons of every conceivable design hung in orderly rows, everything from simple bladed instruments to devices that hummed with unknown energy. Standard protocol allows each contestant to select 3 weapons for their first match, Krill explained. Choose wisely, though in your case, it probably won't matter. Dave approached the wall, his eyes drawn to what looked like a high-tech pistol. How about this? Krill snorted. Energy blaster. Requires 4 arms to operate properly. Next. This sword looks manageable. Molecular edge vibroblade. Weighs approximately twice what you do. Next. Dave frowned, scanning the wall until he spotted a smaller section that seemed scaled for beings of his size. What about these? Krill followed his gaze. Those are training weapons for juvenile Procyon. I suppose they might work for you. After some deliberation, Dave selected what appeared to be a lightweight spear, a small shield that activated with a flick of the wrist, and a curved dagger that hummed softly when handled. Interesting choices, Krill remarked. Most comic relief contestants go for the biggest, flashiest weapons they can lift. Makes for a better joke when they can't use them properly. I figured surviving might be funnier than dying, Dave replied, testing the balance of the spear. To his surprise, the weapon felt natural in his hands, as if it were responding to his movements. Krill led him to a training area, where various contestants were practicing. You have 4 hours until your match. Try not to embarrass yourself completely. Dave approached an empty section of the training floor and began experimenting with his weapons. The shield projected an energy field larger than its physical size, the spear's tip glowed with some kind of energy when thrust with sufficient force, and the dagger could apparently cut through the metal training dummies like butter. After an hour of awkward practice, Dave was drenched in sweat but had developed a rudimentary understanding of his arsenal. He noticed a small gathering of alien spectators watching him with expressions ranging from amusement to pity. "The human is actually trying," one whispered loudly enough for Dave to hear. "How adorable, I've got 20,000 credits on it, surviving precisely 2 minutes and 12 seconds, another replied. "The blade scorpion will toy with it first." Dave ignored them, continuing his practice. His retail job hadn't exactly prepared him for gladiatorial combat, but years of dealing with irate customers during Black Friday sales had given him unexpected agility and a high tolerance for stress. As his training session progressed, a towering insectoid creature approached. This alien had 4 arms, iridescent armor plating, and mandibles that clicked rhythmically. "Human," the creature addressed him, "I am HFY. I have witnessed 17 species make their debut in the arena, and most lasted less than 1 minute. Your technique is less terrible than expected." "Thanks," Dave responded, lowering his weapons. "Any tips for not dying horribly?" HFY's mandibles clicked rapidly, perhaps the equivalent of a chuckle. "Blade scorpions attack from below, they sense vibration, the crowd will expect you to run or freeze. Do neither." Before Dave could ask for clarification, HFY walked away. Later, Krill returned to collect Dave for his pre-match preparation. "Time for final processing," he announced. "Medical enhancement options, last meal, that sort of thing." "Medical enhancements?" Dave perked up, like, "You could give me super strength or laser eyes." "Nothing so dramatic," Krill replied. "Basic stimulants, pain suppressors, cellular accelerants for wound closure, standard stuff. Most contestants from Death Worlds don't bother. Their natural capabilities are already optimized for combat." Dave straightened his shoulders. "Give me everything you've got." Krill's eye ridge raised slightly, unusual request for a comedy contestant. "The suppressants will just prolong your suffering." "Maybe," Dave said with more confidence than he felt, "or maybe I'll surprise you." As medical technicians administered injections and attached monitoring devices to Dave's suit, he could hear the roar of the crowd from the arena above. The thunderous sound sent vibrations through the entire preparation chamber. "They're finishing the match before yours," Krill explained. "Sounds like a good one." A screen on the wall displayed the current fight, a massive creature covered in bony plates battling what appeared to be a sentient toxic cloud. The crowd roared as the plated creature was enveloped in the cloud, only to emerge moments later victorious but smoking. "And now," boomed an announcer's voice, "prepare for our special exhibition match. For your amusement and bewilderment, we present, for the first time in arena history, a human." The crowd's response was immediate, uproarious laughter. "Ready for your grand entrance?" Krill asked, handing Dave his weapons. Dave gripped the spear tightly, his knuckles white. "Just to be clear, there's no chance this is all an elaborate prank show, is there? Like alien punked or something?" Krill's expression might have been sympathy. "The only joke here is that they think you don't stand a chance." "Well," Dave said, stepping onto the platform that would raise him into the arena, "let's see who gets the last laugh." The arena was a massive bowl-shaped coliseum, with seating for what must have been hundreds of thousands of aliens of every conceivable shape and size. Holographic displays hovered above the sand-covered battleground, showing close-ups of Dave's bewildered face to the jeering crowd. The announcer's voice boomed through the stadium. From the mostly harmless planet Earth, a human, standing at a pathetic 1.8 meters tall, with no natural weapons, minimal musculature, and a complete lack of evolutionary advantages, we give you, Dave. The platform locked into place, leaving Dave standing alone in the center of the vast arena. The crowd's laughter washed over him in waves. And facing this bipedal curiosity, the announcer continued with theatrical flair, "A juvenile Carcerian blade scorpion. Please keep all appendages inside the protective barriers, as we cannot guarantee the containment of human viscera once the slaughter begins." A metal gate groaned open at the far end of the arena. Dave gripped his spear tightly, shield activated and ready. For several long seconds nothing emerged. Then the sand began to shift. Dave remembered HFY's words, "They attack from below." Without thinking, Dave leapt sideways just as the ground beneath his previous position erupted. A nightmarish creature burst through the sand, a hellish combination of scorpion, and praying mantis metallic blades extending from every joint of its 8 legs. Its tail arched overhead, ending in a glistening stinger that dripped fluorescent venom. The crowd roared with delight. The human shows basic survival instinct. The announcer crowed. Let's see how long that lasts. The blade scorpion skittered across the sand with terrifying speed, its mandibles clicking furiously. Rather than running, Dave planted his feet, spear pointed outward. The creature hesitated, clearly expecting its prey to flee. Unexpected, the announcer cried. The human appears to be attempting a defensive stance. Bold, if incredibly stupid. Dave's mind raced. The creature sensed vibration, which meant running would only help it track him. The shield wouldn't stop those massive blades for long. He needed to act unpredictably. When the blade scorpion charged, Dave did something no one expected. He charged back. The crowd gasped collectively as Dave sprinted directly toward the monster, sliding at the last second like a baseball player stealing home. His slide took him underneath the creature's raised front segments, and as he passed beneath its soft underbelly, he thrust upward with the spear. The weapon's energy tip pierced the creature's exoskeleton with a satisfying crack. Toxic ichor sprayed across the arena floor as the beast screeched in pain. Unbelievable, the announcer shouted. The human has scored first blood. This is unprecedented. The blade scorpion whirled around, now genuinely enraged. Dave scrambled to his feet, barely raising his shield in time to deflect a vicious strike from one bladed limb. The impact sent him tumbling across the sand, but he managed to keep hold of both shield and spear. The crowd's jeering had transformed into genuine excitement. Even the aliens who had bet on Dave's quick demise were now leaning forward in their seats. Dave retreated, keeping his eyes on the creature while trying to formulate a plan. The blade scorpion was scuttling in circles, seemingly reassessing this unexpectedly troublesome prey. It appears our human contestant may last the full 7 minutes after all, the announcer commented. Perhaps we've underestimated these soft bipeds. The blade scorpion suddenly dove beneath the sand again. Dave stopped moving, recalling that the creature sensed vibration. Instead of panicking, he carefully scanned the arena floor, watching for subtle movements in the sand. There, a slight ripple moving toward him from the right. Dave waited until the last possible moment before jumping straight up. The blade scorpion erupted from the sand beneath him, but its timing was off by crucial milliseconds. As Dave came down, he drove his spear directly into one of the creature's primary eyes. The beast went berserk, thrashing wildly across the arena, its tail striking blindly. The crowd was on its feet now, a mixture of cheers and shocked exclamations filling the stadium. This can't be happening, the announcer was practically screaming. The human is actually fighting strategically. With one eye impaled and leaking fluid, the blade scorpion became erratic in its movements. Dave used this to his advantage, carefully timing his strikes to damage the joints where the creature's bladed limbs connected to its body. When the final buzzer sounded, indicating the end of Dave's scheduled 7 minutes, the blade scorpion was limping badly, 3 of its legs rendered useless. Time, the announcer called. But the human is still standing. This is unprecedented in the history of exhibition matches. Arena staff rushed in to subdue the injured creature, while Dave stood in the center of the sand, breathing heavily, covered in alien ichor but very much alive. The crowd had gone from mocking laughter to stunned silence, to thunderous applause. Ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary sentients of all species, the announcer declared. It appears we may have a new contender. The human advances. As Dave was escorted from the arena, still clutching his weapons, he passed the reptilian gladiator who had mocked him earlier. The creature's expression was unreadable, but it gave Dave a slight nod of what might have been respect. Over the next 2 weeks, Dave faced increasingly dangerous opponents. His second match pitted him against a pair of Venusian acid wolves, which he defeated by tricking them into spraying each other with their corrosive saliva. His third opponent, a cybernetically enhanced warrior from the Draco system, nearly decapitated him before Dave exploited a glitch in the warrior's targeting system. With each victory, Dave's popularity soared. Merchandise bearing his image appeared throughout the station, action figures, holographic trading cards, even snack foods shaped like his distinctly human silhouette. Apparently, being the underdog who refused to die, made for excellent ratings. You've become quite the sensation, Krill informed him after his 4th consecutive victory. They're moving you to prime time. Tomorrow you face Grax'Thor. Dave was bandaging a nasty gash on his arm. Is that supposed to mean something to me? Krill's expression darkened. Grax'Thor is the reigning champion. 12 arms, regenerative capabilities, and rumored to have devoured his own broodmates for strength. No challenger has lasted more than 3 minutes against him in the past cycle. Dave nodded slowly, the gravity of the situation sinking in. So basically, I'm back to being a joke contestant. Perhaps, Krill replied. But some are beginning to wonder if the joke might be on Grax'Thor. The pre-match holding area buzzed with unusual activity. Production assistants scurried about, technicians adjusted equipment, and security personnel stood at heightened alert. Dave sat on a bench, methodically checking his now familiar weapons. His original spear had been upgraded to a more advanced model after his third victory, and his shield now bore the scorch marks and dents of successful battles. Quite the spectacle they're preparing for you, observed a rumbling voice. Dave looked up to see HFY, the insectoid warrior who had offered him advice before his first match. In the intervening weeks, they had developed something resembling a friendship. Apparently humans are good for ratings, Dave replied with a shrug. Who knew watching a soft biped not die could be so entertaining? HFY's mandibles clicked in amusement. You are scheduled against Grax'Thor. The odds makers have you at 200 to 1. Only 200. I'm moving up in the world. Dave tested his shield's projection mechanism. Any tips for this one? Grax'Thor has never faced a human. This gives you one advantage: unpredictability. HFY paused. But he has 12 arms, armored exoskeleton, and regenerative capabilities. He does not fight for sport. He fights to consume. Consume. As in, eat me, Dave grimaced. That's a new wrinkle. Krill appeared, carrying what looked like additional armor pieces. Time for final preparations. The viewership projections are breaking records. Even the Emperor of the Draken hegemony is tuning in. No pressure, Dave muttered, standing to accept the armor. Just entertaining royalty while avoiding being eaten by a 12-armed monster. As Krill helped attach the additional armor plates, he spoke in a lower tone than usual. There's something you should know. Director Quark has placed an unprecedented personal bet on Grax'Thor. He stands to lose significantly if you somehow win. So he'd prefer I get slaughtered? Dave asked. The arena is supposed to be impartial, Krill responded carefully. But accidents have been known to happen to especially inconvenient contestants. Dave absorbed this information silently. 3 weeks ago, he had been an assistant manager concerned about inventory reports. Now he was considering the possibility that an alien entertainment executive might be plotting his death. The preparation chamber's speakers crackled to life with the announcer's voice. Citizens of the 17 systems, tonight's main event features our most surprising contender in arena history. The human who entered as a joke and became a legend in the making. The crowd's roar was deafening even through the thick walls. You've become quite popular, HFY noted. They've even started calling your species death worlders rather than soft bipeds. Time to go, Krill announced, handing Dave his helmet, a new addition to his equipment. Try not to die too quickly. The network needs at least 10 minutes of content for the highlight reel. Dave stepped onto the lift platform. Your confidence is touching. As the platform began to rise, HFY called out, remember human, Grax'Thor has never faced endurance as a strategy. The platform locked into place, and Dave emerged into the most massive crowd he had yet faced. The arena had been expanded for this special match, with holographic projectors capturing every angle. His face appeared on gigantic screens suspended above the stadium. And here he is. The announcer bellowed. The human sensation, the bipedal wonder, the death worlder himself. Dave. The crowd erupted in cheers, a stark contrast to the mocking laughter that had greeted his debut. And his opponent, the undefeated, the unstoppable, the devourer of champions. Grax'Thor. The gate at the opposite end of the arena opened slowly, dramatically. Smoke billowed out, obscuring the entrance. Then, a massive shape moved through the haze. Grax'Thor was easily 3 times Dave's height, with a segmented body supported by 4 thick legs. Where a torso should be, 12 muscular arms extended in a circular pattern, each ending in a different natural weapon: claws, pincers, barbed tentacles, and bladed appendages. Its head was dominated by a circular maw lined with concentric rings of teeth that rotated in opposite directions. Holy shit, Dave whispered, suddenly understanding why the odds were only 200 to 1. He should have been given thousands to 1. Grax'Thor let out a deafening roar that shook sand from the arena floor. Several of its arms brandished massive weapons: a spiked club, a serrated sword, a glowing energy whip. Begin, the announcer shouted. Grax'Thor charged with surprising speed for its size. Dave barely dodged the first sweeping attack, rolling across the sand as a spiked club crashed into his previous position. The crowd gasped as Dave narrowly escaped being pulverized in the first 5 seconds. He scrambled to his feet, shield raised just in time to deflect a slashing attack from a bladed arm. The impact sent him skidding backward. The human displays its characteristic evasiveness, the announcer commented. But Grax'Thor is just warming up. Dave knew immediately that this opponent was different. His previous victories had relied on outthinking his enemies or exploiting weaknesses. Grax'Thor seemed to have no weaknesses, and worse, it was clearly intelligent. Its attacks were coordinated, multiple arms working in concert to herd Dave into vulnerable positions. After 3 minutes of desperate evasion, Dave was already tiring. A glancing blow from a barbed tentacle had torn through his armor, leaving a painful gash across his ribs. His shield's energy reserves were depleting rapidly from blocking so many powerful strikes. Is our human champion finally meeting his match? The announcer crowed. Grax'Thor is toying with him now. Dave retreated, trying to catch his breath while staying out of reach of those deadly limbs. He remembered Xcathari's parting words. Grax'Thor has never faced endurance as a strategy. That's when Dave realized, every previous opponent must have tried to match Grax'Thor's overwhelming strength and aggression. But humans had evolved as persistence hunters, designed not for overwhelming power, but for remarkable endurance. Dave changed tactics. Instead of dodging at the last second, he began moving constantly, keeping his distance at the maximum range. He circled the arena at a steady jog, forcing Grax'Thor to keep turning its massive body to track him. "What's this?" the announcer asked. "The human appears to be running laps." The crowd's reaction was mixed. Some booed at the perceived cowardice, while others watched with curious fascination. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Dave maintained his pace, occasionally darting in to land a quick strategic strike before retreating again. Each attack targeted the same spots, the joints where Grax'Thor's many arms connected to its body. Grax'Thor, accustomed to quick victories, began showing signs of frustration. Its attacks became more frenzied, less coordinated. 15 minutes into the match, the champion was visibly slowing. "Unbelievable," the announcer exclaimed. "The human is employing some kind of endurance strategy. Grax'Thor appears to be tiring." Dave, despite his own fatigue, pushed harder. His species had evolved to sweat, to regulate body temperature during extended physical exertion. Grax'Thor, like many exoskeleton-based life forms, had no such cooling system. 20 minutes in, one of Grax'Thor's arms hung limp, disabled by a precise strike to its joint. The crowd was on its feet now, the energy in the stadium electric. At the 25-minute mark, Dave executed his riskiest move. Dashing directly toward the now sluggish champion, he slid beneath its guard, and drove his spear upward into the soft tissue beneath Grax'Thor's maw. The champion staggered backward, green ichor pulsing from the wound. Dave pressed his advantage, targeting another arm joint, then another. The crowd had gone from cheers to stunned silence. No one had ever seen Grax'Thor bleed this much. With a final desperate surge of strength, Dave vaulted onto the champion's back, clambered up its segmented body, and drove his dagger into the base of Grax'Thor's skull, the one spot Krill had identified as potentially vulnerable during their pre-match briefing. Grax'Thor froze, its many arms trembling. Then, with a thunderous crash, the champion of 17 systems collapsed to the arena floor. The silence was absolute, tens of thousands of aliens staring in disbelief. Then, the announcer's voice, unusually subdued, "The human wins." The crowd erupted in the loudest cheer yet heard in the arena. Dave stood atop the fallen champion, bloodied and exhausted but victorious. The screens above displayed his triumphant figure, a tiny human having accomplished the impossible. In the executive box, Director Quark crushed his viewing console in rage, while Grax'Thor's tentacles waved in frantic calculation of the ratings bonanza they had just witnessed. And Dave, looking up at the endless sea of alien faces chanting his name, could only think, the customer service desk at SuperValue Electronics seems really far away right now. The aftermath of Dave's victory was chaos of the most profitable kind. VisioMax Galactic Media's stock value tripled overnight. Merchandising exploded across 17 systems, everything from Dave-shaped snack foods to action figures that sweated when heated. The phrase "pull a Dave" entered the galactic lexicon, meaning to succeed despite overwhelming odds. 1 week after defeating Grax'Thor, Dave sat in what had once been a storage closet but was now his champion's quarters, adorned with hastily added luxuries that sometimes seemed designed for species with very different anatomical needs. The circular water basin, for instance, appeared to be designed for creatures that absorbed moisture through their exoskeleton rather than drinking it. Krill entered without knocking, his normally dour expression replaced with something almost resembling respect. "The executive board has requested your presence. Am I in trouble for not dying spectacularly?" Dave asked, pulling on his new champion's attire, a ridiculous outfit festooned with metallic accents that made him look like a rejected superhero concept. "Quite the opposite," Krill replied. "Your victory has created opportunities." Dave followed Krill through corridors where aliens stopped to stare or bow slightly as he passed. Fame in space was just as weird as fame on Earth, apparently. The boardroom fell silent as Dave entered. Nextral's tentacles were unusually still, Director Quark's volcanic breathing seemed muted, and a dozen other alien executives regarded Dave with expressions ranging from calculation to awe. "Champion," Nextral began, gelatinous form quivering slightly, "your unexpected success has presented us with an unprecedented situation. No comic relief contestant has ever survived beyond their first match, let alone become grand champion." "Always happy to break new ground," Dave replied, taking the oddly shaped seat offered to him. It appeared designed for a species with a tail. "We've brought you here to discuss your compensation package," Director Quark rumbled. "As Grand Champion, you're entitled to certain rewards." Dave leaned forward, like returning to Earth. The executives exchanged glances. "About that," Nextral's tentacles curled anxiously. "Traditionally, champions continue competing until they don't. Your contract specifies a minimum term of 50 matches." "Contract?" Dave raised an eyebrow. "I don't recall signing anything." "Abduction implies consent in entertainment law," Director Quark stated matter-of-factly. "Galactic Statute, 477b, paragraph 12. Dave crossed his arms. "Let me get this straight. You kidnapped me, expected me to die humorously, and now that I've somehow become your star attraction, you want me to keep fighting until something eventually kills me." Nextral's skin rippled in what might have been embarrassment. "When you phrase it that way, it sounds rather exploitative." "However," interjected a new voice, "there are precedents for renegotiation." Dave turned to see Vex, the thin gray assistant he'd glimpsed when first arriving. She stepped forward with a data pad. "The human's victory has increased our ratings by 347%, she continued. "Our subscription base has expanded to 3 new systems. The marketing potential alone—" Yes, Nextral interrupted. "The point, Vex, the point," she replied coolly, "is that it would be more profitable to negotiate terms the human finds acceptable than to risk losing our new star through unfortunate accidents." Her gaze flickered briefly toward Director Quark. Dave smiled slowly. 3 weeks in the arena had taught him to recognize an opportunity. "I have terms." "We're listening," Nextral said, tentacles now twitching with interest. "First, I want Earth classified as a protected planet. No more abductions for your arena. Second, I'll do 10 more matches, not 50. Third, I want diplomatic status for humans in all 17 systems." Director Quark's volcanic vents flared. "Preposterous, you're in no position to." "Fourth," Dave continued, ignoring the interruption, "I want 20% of all merchandise profits featuring my image or likeness. And fifth, I want Krill promoted to my official manager with appropriate compensation." The room erupted in multiple alien languages. Nextral's tentacles whipped about in agitation. "Silence," Director Quark finally bellowed. The room quieted. "Human, your demands are unexpected." "Like my survival," Dave replied. A long silence followed. Finally Nextral spoke. 10 more matches is acceptable. Earth can be classified as protected, with limited exceptions for voluntary participation. 15% on merchandise. Krill's promotion is no concern of ours. As for diplomatic status," his tentacles undulated thoughtfully, "we can offer observer status in the Galactic Council." Dave pretended to consider this. 18% on merchandise, and I'll accept observer status. For now." Another flurry of tentacle movements, then agreed. As the details were finalized and various appendages pressed against authentication pads, Dave caught Krill giving him what might have been the alien equivalent of an impressed nod. 3 months later, Dave stood in the arena one final time, having completed his contracted 10 additional matches. His record remained undefeated, though several battles had been uncomfortably close. His fame had spread to the point where the arena could barely contain the crowds for his appearances. As he took his victory lap following his final bout against a particularly nasty swarm of crystalline parasites, Dave reflected on the strange journey from retail management to intergalactic gladiator. The announcer's voice echoed through the stadium. Citizens of the galaxy, today we bid farewell to the greatest champion in arena history, the human who came as a joke and leaves as a legend. The crowd's response was deafening. Later, as Dave prepared to board the ship that would return him to Earth, Krill approached with a small device. Your communication link, Krill explained. As Earth's unofficial representative, you'll need to stay in contact. Dave accepted the device. Will they actually honor our agreement once I'm gone? They have little choice. Your matches have been broadcast across the galaxy. Billions know your story. If Vizio Max violated the terms now, the public relations disaster would be substantial. Dave nodded. Well, it's been interesting working with you, Krill. Maybe humans and whatever you are will have more positive interactions in the future. Krill's facial appendages twitched. Perhaps, though I should inform you that the Galactic Survey Corps is detecting increased activity in your solar system. It seems your victory has attracted attention. What kind of attention? Several major powers are suddenly very interested in a species that can produce champions like you. Some are peaceful, others. Krill let the implication hang. Dave sighed. So I'm not just going home to a quiet life. Unlikely. The galaxy now knows that humans can be formidable. That knowledge cannot be unlearned. As Dave boarded the ship, he glanced back at the enormous station that had been his home for the past months. You know what's funny, Krill? I was terrible at my retail job. Could never get the inventory right. And yet you cataloged every weakness of your opponents and exploited them perfectly. Krill observed. Perhaps you were simply in the wrong arena. 6 weeks later, Dave Miller stood in his old apartment, staring out the window at the night sky. To any observer, he appeared to be an ordinary human gazing at the stars. They wouldn't notice the advanced communication device on his wrist, occasionally blinking with updates from 17 star systems. They wouldn't know that humans were now classified as emergent deathworlders in the Galactic Registry, or that Earth had been designated a protected planet under the Sentient Species Preservation Act. Most importantly, they wouldn't know that 5 major galactic powers had established cloaked observation posts in Earth orbit, following the broadcast of a retail assistant manager defeating the most feared gladiator in known space. Dave smiled as his communication device blinked with a new message from Krill. Observer status upgraded to provisional membership. Diplomatic delegation requested. Details to follow. Not bad, Dave murmured to himself, for a joke contestant.